Welcome back to Movies TV Mad. I'm Mick, your host with the most. Just ask your girlfriends and your wives, and a very warm welcome to Monday's edition of the DCU Daily. I always saw a multitude of red flags with James Gunn being appointed to write a Superman movie, let alone direct it. But he was resistant to directing a Superman movie. In fact, he was put under pressure by his partner, the other co-CEO of DC Studios, Peter Safran, to direct the movie. Why? This is interesting because you weren't going to be able to get another respectable director to direct the movie written by James Gunn. Once he wrote it and that's the direction they were going in, he would have to direct it, but he was resistant because he knew what I knew. He hasn't got the capabilities visually to make a Superman movie. And there's been lots of red flags. To me, it's somewhat disappointing. Obviously, I want to talk about this TV spot. I want to talk about the flying. We could have had someone like Peter Jackson adapt the graphic novel. Steven Spielberg maybe make his final movie and bring John Williams to compose the movie out of retirement. Why not? It could have been amazing. But instead they decided to do, a connected universe yet again, because they've been so successful over at DC with connected universes thus far, haven't they? But anyway, so yesterday they released a TV spot with mostly the same footage we saw in the original first teaser trailer, but there's a caveat to this because at the end there's a few seconds of flying. I was very suspicious with the teaser trailer. We didn't see very much flying. We quickly saw Lois and Superman flying together. It looked okay. It certainly didn't look stunning. It didn't look groundbreaking. It didn't look like a lot of money had been spent on it. But I did like the teaser. I stand by that. But now we know why that flying sequence wasn't in the teaser. So they revealed it yesterday in a TV spot. If you haven't seen it, Superman flips around like he's been piloted by Top Gun Maverick. Yeah, remember when James Gunn said he's going to do kind of similar flying, as they did in Top Gun Maverick? Interesting, right? You think, wow, he's going to propel like a fighter plane. It's going to be amazing. No, he flips over. Now, when I first saw that flip, I thought, okay. But then when I saw it a multitude of times, it's very problematic. When he flips over, it's very, very robotic. You can't have a guy flipping over like a plane. I can understand why James wanted to do it. It feels like a nifty idea, but in the execution, and the execution is key, in art, as I always say, and that's the problem. Once he flips over, you see the expression on his face. It's not David's fault. It's not him acting. It's CGI. I don't think it's AI. I think James is anti-AI. I don't know, but I don't think it's AI. But the eyes look all wrong. The expression looks wrong, but here's the real deal breaker. It looks exactly like the flying in Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. James was asked on a multitude of occasions if the flying in his Superman film would be similar to his flying that nobody liked in Guardians Volume 3. James said no. That character flies in a certain way and Superman flies in another. So what went wrong, James? As I said, he's not really a visual director. His CGI is always solid. It's not horrible, it's not bad, it's solid, but this isn't a visual director. How Superman looks, I've explained this before, how he looks, but vitally, how he flies in a movie is very, very important. Now, Bryan Singer did some great CGI flying in Superman Returns. He also did some pretty bad CGI flying in Superman Returns. Superman Returns was a movie of great moments, not a great movie, but also some bad visual effects as well as some really, really great visual effects. The best CGI in terms of Superman flying, excuse me, that was a frog in my throat, I'm not dying yet. But yeah, the best CGI in terms of flying has been in Man of Steel, because Zack Snyder is a great, stunning visual director. Whether you like his storytelling or not, whether you like his films, his visuals are always stunning. Man of Steel still looks like a brand new movie, as we've discussed and everybody says. So that is stunning. Now, I think Superman's flying has never looked so stunning in Superman 78. And I think the highlight is when he's flying after the rockets in the first film. That's amazing. That's sensational. That has never been topped. I hate CGI flying, by the way. It never looks that convincing, right? Now, it's amazing that a film that was released in 1978 has the best flying sequence of all time, of a person, of a man flying. The tagline was, "You will believe a man can fly," and we bloody well did, and we still do. Looking at what James Gunn's done, I don't believe a man can fly. I believe that a director can execute some terrible CGI. And it's very interesting because everybody's saying it's not just the Snyder stands, but the one thing you don't do is give your enemies the ammo they need. And of course the Snyder stands are going, well, Zack Snyder did it better. Well, yes, Zack Snyder did do it better. Anyone saying this is great and it's giving them all the emotions is either a paid up studio shill or just a shill in general. Anyone with any kind of balance to their conversation will admit that this is terrible. And I can't believe a director of James Gunn's talent and skill and experience thinks that this is good enough. Because, James, it is not good enough. It is terrible. And as I say, vitally, the flying has to be something special. The flying in Superman and Lois is better. The flying in Smallville in the season 4 premiere Crusade is better. Even that dodgy CGI in the series finale of Smallville, when he's flying up to the plane and he's looking at Lois through the mirror, through the window, is better. And I wasn't ever that impressed by it. But by the way, the flying when he flies out the fortress in the series finale is brilliant for a TV budget and better than what we saw in Gunn's TV spot yesterday. My takeaway from what we saw yesterday is that this film will be the very good, the very bad, and the very ugly. It's going to be a very mixed bag because it's interesting. The other visuals in the teaser we saw are very good. Superman crouching down next to a robot that's dying or dead. A stunning visual. Superman smashing the glass. A smashing, no pun intended, visual. There were some great visuals. There's the moment he saves the little girl. Stunning in slow-mo. So it's interesting that look, we heard a lot of stuff about how, the VFX people were saying and the editing people for the trailer were told, make it better. It's clear they had problems with the trailer. And I think there was a debate whether they should include the flying. Some people probably said yes. And some people probably said no. Now, I don't know where Gunn was with this. Now, when the first Sonic the Hedgehog movie had its first teaser trailer, the fans went mental. The fans went ballistic. And Jeff Fowler, the director, a great lad, by the way, said, okay, this is not good enough. We shouldn't have released this. We apologise. We're going to go back to the drawing board and we're going to redesign CGI Sonic. And they did. And he was game accurate. And that's how he looks today. And he's brilliant. Will James Gunn do something like this? I don't think he will. But I think with the desperation they're at, this film is so vital to launch the DCU. And you've released flying like this. I'm absolutely stunned that this studio, that this director, knowing how vital this film is, has released flying of this low quality. Because, as I say, it is not good. And with all the technology they can do today, and I'll repeat this, it's stunning to me, it floors my mind that a film released in 1978 has better flying, but practical effects will always beat CGI. Great practical effects will always beat CGI. He flies better than we saw in that TV spot in Superman 78. He flies better than that TV spot in Superman 2, Superman 3, even the Helen Slater Supergirl movie when she's flying over the lake, the river, and she's doing a ballet turn in the air. It's beautiful, it's stunning. Here's the thing. In Man of Steel, Superman flies really fast. You can see how fast he can fly. He flies like a missile, right? And it's cool. That's the way Snyder saw it. And that's cool. My preference is the graceful flying we saw in Superman 78, Superman 2, 73, Superman 3, should I say, and Supergirl. The graceful flying that Superman does and Supergirl does is the way I like it. But for me, actually, I like a mixed bag. I like the graceful flying, and I like the way Snyder did it as well. But, as I say, I don't like CGI flying. It's not convincing, but there's no question about it. Snyder did it well. You know, that whole first flight moment in Man of Steel is stunning. It's not just the flying. It's the way he walks out. He can hear his father's voice. You can hear Russell Crowe's narration. He tries to fly. He's excited. He's smiling. You know how people say, you know, Henry's Superman doesn't smile in Man of Steel? Nonsense. He falls to the ground because it's his first flight. He kneels down. He shuts his eyes, puts his hand on the ground. It's iconic, right? Now we'll see what kind of thing that Gunn's going to do. But I'm not sure if Gunn's got an original idea in this movie. Storytelling and character development is always key. But when you're making a Superman movie, the visuals and the flying are absolutely vital. And the other flying may be great, but this isn't. And as I say, and he was sharing this on his Instagram, on his threads, I think on his Twitter as well, though I didn't see it on his ex-Twitter. And I'm surprised that he doesn't realise how bad this is, you know, because we talk about the cinematographer from the Flash movie, by the way, and he's done some good films, but it's hardly the best in the business or anything. But that visual, and again, I'll reiterate, the other visuals in the original teaser for Superman are stunning, but the flying is different gravy, and not everyone can do it. And he hasn't pulled it off. It isn't good enough. The whole world can see that terrible flying. As I say, when he made, you know, when they sat there and did the VFX for the flip, they should have seen. It was a good idea in the room, thinking about it, but actually in execution, it doesn't work. As I say, you can't have a man flipping like a plane. It's a dumb idea. I may have had that idea in a room. Well, you know, when we're thinking together, so, what if he flips over like in Top Gun? That'd be cool. That'd be a great selling point. But when you see it, you've got to understand as a director, and directing is a visual medium after all. It's also a storytelling medium, and you should know what works and doesn't work. And as a director, I'm an amateur director, right? Amateur Dramatic Society. So, you know, I'm not a film director, but when something doesn't work, we don't do it. You know, we know. You know, even if we love the idea and we're obsessed, you know, we all say as a group, you know, that ship has sailed. You can't have any ego about these situations. The flip looks bad, the way he looks, exactly how the character flying in Guardians Volume 3 looks, it's terrible, and I can't believe they've released it. It's not great marketing, yeah, because at the end of the day, this TV spot is the continuation of the marketing. Now, it's interesting the other day when they announced who's playing Sinestro. Now, I mentioned the other day when I covered it on my video that we already knew that. So I thought, I wonder what bad news they've got for us. James Gunn knows that flying is bad. What does that mean? That means they couldn't perfect it any better. Probably because they can't afford to perfect it any better, So they just released it and hope for the best.